Are you ready for some hardcore Minecraft? I don't know if I am, but I've already started recording, so it's just time to go. But this is not going to be just any hardcore Minecraft series. This has got some special twists because of some mods that I've added that I think will make this experience even more immersive. What are those mods? Well, let's take a look. The first mod that I've added is called Ambient Sounds, and as we walk through this jungle, you'll be able to hear all of the sounds that it adds to the world and just how much better it makes it. The second mod that I've added is called Panda's Falling Trees, and what it does is when you are breaking a tree, instead of just breaking one block, the entire tree will fall over and fall to the ground just like it would in real life. The third mod that we've added is called the Physics mod, and what that does is it adds waves to the oceans. When you move through tall grass or sugarcane, it moves around with you, and when you break blocks, they explode apart into many different pieces. And the final change that I'll be making is by playing this series with shaders on, because shaders with their lights and reflections will just add to the immersive level. But now that we've covered everything, let's actually get started with some playing. Here we are in the Create a World menu, and we are getting ready to create this new hardcore world. Let's name it Foxfoil Hardcore and get the game mode selected. We are not going to be selecting the seed. I'm going to leave it as a random seed. Let's see where we end up in this world. Now, I am a bit nervous about starting a hardcore series because I die a lot. So this is going to definitely be a test for whether I can survive 100 days in this world. Alright, so starting off in the first 10 days, I did what anyone does in a new Minecraft world. I punched a tree. And then after punching the tree, I punched some dirt. And then I started to punch the stone and realized that a pickaxe would probably be better. So I used the pickaxe to get a bunch of stone so that I could craft up some stone tools. I got a stone pickaxe, I got a stone axe. And then I used the tools to kill some sheep and killed some more sheep. And then I went and picked some flowers. And then I killed some cows and I killed some more cows. And then I got some coal because I needed some experience points. And I wanted to use a furnace. And after I did that, I ran into a cave and saw some zombies, so I ran away. While I was out in the ocean, I decided to loot a shipwreck and got a lot of iron and other good loot, and I used that iron to shear some sheep. I sheared a lot of sheep. No sheep was safe. After I did that, I decided to commemorate reaching 5 days by writing a sign that said I survived 5 days. I then decided to test whether wool would be able to stop lava, and to my surprise, it did. That doesn't seem right. But now that we were over 5 days, I needed to get serious about things. So I created a pen to be able to hold a bunch of cows. I then decided to go find a bunch of cows, and I did find a bunch of cows and got them back to the pen, after which I went and dyed all of my sheep blue because blue is a good color. We are here at the start of day 10, and as you can see, I've got a lot of cows, I have a lot of sheep, and a bunch of crops growing. So we have had a pretty good start in the first 10 days. I think now what we need to do is get a starter base done, because right now all I have is the little spot up on top of the hill where I've got a few chests and a crafting table and a furnace. And then down here we have our crops and sheep and all sorts of other things. So what we need to do is get a little build started, and I think it's time for the first time lapse. We have our base camp all set up, and in these chests, I moved all of the items that we had up there down to here and sorted them out, so those are all good to go. Now that we have a good spot to keep our items and we have a pretty steady source of food, we need to go out and start getting some of the resources together that we will need to build our main base up on top of this hill here, because there's going to be a lot of different resources that we're going to need to collect. So let's get started with that. One of the blocks that we need to collect are vines, because we are going to use these in a lot of our builds. And one of the things about the physics mod is when you break one block, if the blocks above are not connected, they will also be breaking. And what that does is it makes it really difficult to collect vines, because normally you'd be able to go and get all of these vines all at once and get a whole bunch. But because they're breaking not with the shears, they're just breaking from the physics mod, we aren't able to collect them, which makes it a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to have to see if there is another way that we can collect these, which is going to be a little bit more efficient and get us more at a time, because just getting one for every one of these is going to take forever. I've been letting the vines grow out here because I want to test something. So we have it where there's 4 in a row, and if we break this one at the bottom, it's going to keep these ones at the top. So we can just go along here and collect them, and we'll be able to do that. And then the ones at the top will continue to be able to grow because they're spread out at every other one. And I think that that will be good for what we need. We are on day 22, and we are doing pretty well in the resource collection process in order to get our main base started. But there are a few blocks that we are going to need to go out and collect, and they could be a little bit dangerous because one of the blocks is a dripstone block, and the dripstone, of course, is going to be down in some caves. So we're going to have to be very careful in trying to get those so that we don't die. The first step in not dying is to be prepared, and I've got everything I could get together to make sure that we are prepared to stay alive. We've got shields, we've got swords, axes, food, torches, a bed, just about everything. So I'm going to wait until the sun goes down, sleep, and then on the new day, we will head out on our adventure. We've found it, and this is actually probably just about the ideal scenario because the dripstone is outside, and we won't have to worry about a bunch of mobs trying to get me while I'm collecting it. Let's get down there and get some. Making our way down carefully. We don't want to take any damage as we get down here, and this is excellent. I'll take that. Thank you very much. And that. And ooh, I'll take that one too. Might as well. Let's get some over here. Now, we probably don't need to collect a whole bunch because we can just take it back and end up farming it. But the more we collect now, the less we have to farm later. I've made it back to base camp, and it is day 29. We spent about 5 days traveling over 2,000 blocks in that direction, and it was very productive as we got a lot of blocks that we didn't have before, including mangrove, acacia, and jungle logs. We also were able to get a bunch of mud, which we'll need, and then the dripstone blocks, of course, which we will be using to set up a farm to get plenty for the build that I want to do in this episode up on this hill. Now, the next thing that I need to do is actually get all of these put away. Now that I have my inventory cleaned out, the next thing that I want to do is actually get the dripstone set up so that way we can start collecting it, because we're going to need a lot for this build. And I thought that the best place to do that would be over here in our mine. I have everything in place, and now I want to leave it to run and see whether or not these dripstones are actually going to start growing to make sure I have water source blocks above each of these. We are on day 47, and before we get to day 50, I thought I would spend the next 3 days working on doing some mining to see if I can get a bunch of diamonds and some other things. And while we do that, we will wait for our dripstone to finish growing so that we have plenty enough for the project, because right now we are super far behind in how much we need to collect. So I'm going to go down, get the mining, and hopefully when I come back, the dripstone will be done. We are coming up on the end of day 49, and when I went down, I was able to get almost, well, actually 18 stacks of cobbled deep slate, which is pretty good. And then a few other little resources. I mean, 11 diamonds, not so great. And then just a few raw iron, and we've got some redstone as well as gold. And with the start of day 50, I can finally say I have survived to day 50. And we are at the halfway point in this episode. I've laid out this area for where we are going to be building, and you'll notice these pillars here in each of these spots, and it's going to be a circle that's going to connect up with each of these. Now, this one here and this one here are at the height that I want the ground to be at. This is a few blocks shorter, even though it doesn't quite look that way, and this one is a few blocks too tall, but this layer right here, this is where the ground is going to be, and it's going to be in a circle. And there's a lot of missing parts, like this hole in the middle, these holes over here, this terrain right over here. There's just gaps everywhere that we're going to have to fill in. And that's going to require a lot of dirt and a lot of stone. So I need to go out and collect that. And then once I have it collected, we can start terraforming this and making it look a lot better and a lot more prepared for what we are going to be building. I've gone out and collected a bunch of dirt and stone, and I've already gone and created the circle that we are going to be building. And this is where the wall is for the build that we're going to do. I've got the top all completed and filled in, and it took quite a while and a lot of resources because for the physics mod, we can't just have 1 or 2 layers. We need to have 3 layers to make sure that anything that we place on top of it, if we have to break it, it won't cause the entire floor to collapse. I've been working on the terraforming, and I think I've got it in a pretty good spot to where we can finally get started with the building. From over here, you can see that we have filled in the terraforming around where the granite is marking the base of what we are going to be building. And I've got this nice little clip that I put in over here, and I think overall it looks pretty good. The next thing that we need to do is to finish collecting up all of the resources that we need for the build, and then it's time to get started. We're here on day 80, and it took me about 5 days to get all of the materials crafted up. Now, it doesn't look like I had to craft up this because these are just the logs, but we have all of these materials here as well as these over here. We've got some backup materials here that we can use as well, and I think that we are ready. And I mean, at this time, we are going to start the building. Let's get the time lapse going. And on day 99, we have finished our build, and as you can see, it is a nice little fort that'll be able to keep us safe. And we finished it just in time to make it to the end of the episode before the 100 days are fully up. So let's go take a look inside. All right, we've got a cow waiting right outside here for us, but if we go inside, you can see we've got a couple of buildings in here. We have these towers to keep a lookout, and all of these buildings do not have interiors, so we won't be checking them out. They're all the same, but we've got a nice little design that I think came together really well. If we go up into the towers, you can get a pretty good view of the surrounding area, and it's not too bad. With the walkway here, we can take a look as well and see the full range of the landscape around us, and this world is amazing. I love it so much. The one thing that wasn't able to be done in time was I wanted to put pointed dripstone on each of these to go all the way around to have it look like a more sharpened point. And the problem was that we didn't have enough time for it to grow, to collect enough, to be able to put on all of them. But with the sun setting on day 99, it is time to sleep and 100 days in a hardcore world, and I am really happy with the progress that we've made. Super excited about this series. I will be doing it for as long as I can stay alive, at least for a little bit. And I have a couple of ideas about what I want to do in future episodes. So this is going to be a fun series to work on. Definitely a challenge to stay alive. Lots of opportunities to die and for the whole thing to just end. But that's going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.